What is up, everyone? Welcome to another edition of Drive for Show, DFS for Dough here on Rotogrinders, breaking down another week of golf action from a DFS perspective. And we've got our first high-profile tournament of the year. Call it a major if you want. Do what you will. It's the Players' Championship, the fifth major, whatever terminology you want to use to describe it. It's basically got the feel of a major, and we've got huge prize pools out there in DFS this week, so should be a fun one for us to break down over the next 45 minutes or so. I am Justin Van Zuiden, aka STL Cardinals 84. We'll be hosting the show as usual for you here, and I've got my usual co-host, Mr. Notorious, Derek Farnsworth, alongside me. And Noto had a very solid week with a top finish there on Draftkings for a cool 5-figure payday. So Noto, congrats on the nice week there with Bay Hill, and you held on despite all the bogeys in that tournament there.
Yeah, as you know, I don't really sweat it live, so I knew who I was cheering for heading into the day. That was by far my only lineup that had a chance. So I had them all start, and was kind of sweating all the putts down the stretch. And yeah, Kirk made a long one. Horschel made a bunch of long ones down the stretch. So I ended up taking second in the smaller $20 GPP. And I looked, and I was debating between that one and the one that was paying 200 grand for first. And I would have only won like 100 or 900 bucks on that one. So definitely glad I joined the smaller one. I went on a different show last week saying, you don't always have to chase the biggest prize pools. Sometimes entering the smaller field stuff can pay off, and it certainly worked for me last week. So a little bit of luck involved for sure, but I will take it.
Well, congrats again. It was a solid week. I told Noto before the show that he peaked a week too early, but he said he's still on the rise. So we'll see if that comes true this week. So still kudos on a good week. It's never a bad thing when those weeks come about. So if the heater rides into another week, this is a good week to have it. So you obviously hit on some plays last week, some good stuff in the content. So were a couple of those big keys to that winning lineup there.
Yeah, I had Fitzpatrick, who made every putt on Sunday. I think he gained like 5 strokes putting. And then Horschel, who else was on that lineup? I had two guys that weren't very good, and Pendrith and Lonto, and then 2 other guys in the top 10. Escaping my memory right now. So apologies to those 2 golfers for helping me out and me not giving them any credit.
No, you move on, right? You just got to move on right away to the next week. So anyway, it was an interesting tournament. I think I tweeted it on Sunday that Fitzpatrick only had like 5 birdies the whole tournament, made a couple more down the stretch. I think he finished with 7 or something like that. But still, to finish in the top 10 with only 7 birdies is pretty impressive stuff. And that just goes to show you how difficult the course was playing, particularly on the weekend. The Sunday round, the course averaged about 3.5 strokes over par. Rory was, lamenting the course setup after the tournament, which who knows, maybe he was just a little frustrated by not finishing the way that he wanted to after a really good first round. But whatever the case may be, the course played really difficult with some wind and the fast greens on the weekend. And so the guys who were able to hang on and make pars were definitely ahead of the field on Saturday and Sunday. So other takeaways from the event for you. How about Gary Woodland?
Yeah, I was just going to say, great call on Gary, back-to-back weeks, back-to-back 5th place finishes. So, it was good, although he kind of blew it there at the end. I thought he got kind of lucky with his lie on 17. It came out of, his fried egg and then didn't roll back, into the bottom part of the bunker. So he had an upslope, and he just pulled an amateur move, just gave up on the shot and couldn't get out of the bunker. So yeah, it was frustrating to see him not get the job done, but obviously ended up helping me. My other two guys were Kirk and obviously Scheffler. I don't know how I forgot about Scheffler in that lineup, but yeah, it was a good tournament. I do agree with a lot of what the players were saying in that every shot was just going over the green into the thick rough. And I'm fine with thick rough around the fairways. I do think, placing a premium on hitting the fairways, is certainly important. But when you're having a lot of good iron shots that just aren't holding greens, I'm sure it can be frustrating for those guys because it was frustrating just to watch on TV. So I get it. But at the same time, it's fun to see these guys struggle every now and then. It's a lot better viewing experience for me, the average golfer, than, seeing the Tournament of Champions where the winner's 37 under par.
Yeah, a great point on those shots rolling through the greens and then becoming difficult up and downs, which obviously frustrated a lot of the top golfers. And you look at, 3.5 strokes over par as an average for a round. That's not something you usually see in anything outside of a U.S. Open or an extreme weather, draw one way or the other. Which it was windy, but it's not like it was off the charts, wind blowing balls off the green and stuff like that. Like Paul Casey shot an 83 on Sunday.
17 over on the weekend.
That's not great. And so, it was wild. I had one lineup with a shot that had Lee Westwood, who was 4 under on Saturday through 8. He was 4 under Saturday through 8. And then played 8 over his last 10 holes. So, it's just a weird stuff like that happens when the scoring is difficult. And that's what we saw last week, in a week where there were a ton of 6-6 lineups. That's the highest 6-6 percentage we've seen in, ever. I don't know. It was like 30 some odd percent.
Yeah, it was really high, and I had well below the field in my 6-6 percentage, so I wasn't feeling too good heading into the weekend. But yeah, that was pretty wild. There wasn't a lot of chalk that missed. My main lineup, I think I had Ortiz that ended up finishing almost last. We talked about him a bit, and he just had no shot the entire tournament. But yeah, that was strange to see so much chalk get there. I can almost guarantee it won't get there this week.
Yeah, and I hate to be a Debbie Downer here with everybody being so excited. It's Players Championship week, and this is a great event, great golf course. The weather looks awful, which is really, strange for Florida. You usually, you get thunderstorms on and off. But Thursday and Friday is like 90% chance of storms. And so it tripped me because I saw somebody in the chat ask about a weather draw advantage, and this is going to be impossible to peg, because we don't know when they're going to play and when they're not. There's almost undoubtedly going to be delays given the forecast. Unless the forecast is completely wrong, which seems unlikely, there's going to be some delays in this tournament. So it's going to be one of those scenarios that, we can talk about. You build lineups. If you're building multiple lineups, maybe you stack each wave. You build some correlated tee time stacks to try to take advantage of if there does happen to be a potential edge. But I do think that trying to peg that is going to be pretty much impossible because of the likelihood of suspensions of play. So I guess as we start, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to say, if we do see some delays, I think, we could see, some of the first 2 rounds pushed into Saturday. And Saturday just looks absolutely miserable, 30-mile-per-hour gusts. So maybe the advantage is to target the Friday morning guys in hopes that they, finish the round. Even if it does get delayed, they finish, Friday afternoon. And then the guys that, went out Friday afternoon will have to finish, in the heavy winds on Saturday morning. That's really my only thought. But yeah, it's going to be crazy. And then on Sunday, it's like 53 is the high. So it's going to be cold. Oh man, it's going to be crazy 4 days of weather for sure.
They'll have the parkas out in Florida at 53 and 53 here. I'd be out shorts right now. But yes, that's going to be wild after the rain moves through the first few days, and it's going to get chilly. So sure, some golfers will have something to say about the weather, and it's just not what you're used to seeing in Florida. It's not the Open Championship; it's the Players. So In any case, that's something to keep an eye on for sure. I like your point about potentially targeting that morning wave in the second round in the event that it gets pushed into Saturday. Unless the entire second round ends up getting pushed into Saturday, then you're not any better. I guess you're not any worse off either. But it's just going to be tough to peg when they're going to play golf given the current forecast. 144 golfers, limited daylight hours. Somebody's probably going to miss a tee time because the clocks move forward on Sunday. There's another factor. Who's going to oversleep their tee time because the clocks move ahead? So many things to think about. But all right, let's start digging in. Congrats to Scheffler, big week last week. Congrats to Noto, big week for him last week. But we got a lot to get here with the Players Championship. And why don't you tell the people about the course?
Yeah, so obviously everybody knows TBC Sawgrass. It's a Pga design, par 72 that measures a little bit less than 7,300 yards, and there's going to be a lot of gettable holes. You've got 4 par 5s, you got a drivable par 4. At least it's going to be drivable on most of the days, I would imagine. And then the other holes, you just kind of want to hang on for dear life. There's water in play on 17 of the 18 holes, so there's going to be a lot of birdies. And there's going to be a lot of landmines. I would call it sort of a lesson driver course. You're going to see a lot of guys hit, lesson driver off a lot of the tees, except for the par 5s. So I wouldn't be looking at distance. I do think, good drive percentage will be important, something like that. I don't think you want to target driving accuracy because the longer hitters are going to be clubbing down anyway. But approach play will be critical. The greens themselves, pretty small. They are Bermuda grass. So if you want to target guys that are good on Bermuda, certainly don't mind that. If you want to target guys that are good in Florida, I think that's a good route as well. Course history here is pretty predictive year in and year out. Although you will see like Rory wins and then, misses the cut. Same thing for Justin Thomas. I think he had a couple missed cuts before his win. And that's just due to the nature of so much water being in play. You're going to have a lot of implosions. You're going to have a lot of guys that just, exit early. So just guys that are solid all around, I think is probably your best bet. But this course definitely rewards good ball strikers. So if you hit good shots, you're going to be rewarded for it, unlike we saw last week at the API.
Yes, good point. Lots of varying scores out there on this course, from eagles to doubles and triples and nines. With the water, you're just going to see a lot of movement around that leaderboard. We have had some people in the chat talking about whether or not the overseeded Bermuda plays closer to bent grass than traditional Bermuda. I wrote, last year or the year before when they first moved this to the March date. Nobody really knows what kind of grass this course plays like. So I don't know, the Bermuda bent grass splits. I tend to take a little bit more with a grain of salt at this tournament because of that. But you got any hot takes on the grass debate here?
So I heard one golfer saying that the greens are going to be, as close to Bermuda as you can get. And then the overseed helps around the green. So you're not going to get those grainy lies, those, really chippy lies around the greens. So that's just what one of the golfers said. It makes it a little bit easier around the greens, but I don't know what we can do with this info. I don't think, targeting anybody specifically because of the overseed's going to really get us anywhere.
All right, fair enough. If you want to chat along with us during the show, we are in the Rotogrinders Discord. And again, all you have to do is be a Rotogrinders member to get into the Discord and chat along with us. You don't have to be a premium subscriber. We'd love it if you gave us a try at rotogrinders.com and get premium access to all of our great golf content and all the other sports as well. But you can chat with us for free during the show. rotogrinders.com/Discord. We are in the live stream chat channel, which again is a free channel. Just got to get yourself to the right place there from the Rotogrinders homepage or going to rotogrinders.com/Discord. And we'll chat along with you in that live stream chat channel. All right, let's start breaking down the golfers. Again, fun tournament, lots of golfers that we can look at this week. And the pricing is pretty soft. So you'll get, there's going to be a lot of players who seem underpriced. And what this tends to do when it's consistent throughout the player pool is it tends to spread out ownership. When there's plays that are, there's only one or two guys that appear mispriced, that's when you get players that are 30 or 35% owned. You don't see that a lot in these softer pricing tournaments. And right now we don't have anybody above 23%. in our Rotogrinders projected ownership on DraftKings. So worth noting that ownership will probably be spread out a little bit this week. And we've got our usual 5 golfers above 10K on DraftKings. Rahm, Rory, Morikawa, Thomas, and Hovland. And 4 of us on Rotogrinders that do the conviction and core tags in lineup HQ. We've got 4 different guys tagged among these top 4. So who are you liking? Well, top 5 rather. Who are you liking as a couple of your favorites if you're starting at the top?
Yeah, I guess pick your favorite RG expert and just roll with one of them. Naturally, Hovland's going to be the one that ends up playing the best because he doesn't have a tag from any of our guys. But my favorite is Jon Rahm. Look, he hasn't been in the best of form, but if you look at the results, T21 or better in 6 straight. And then you look at his last 3 events. He's gained 11.4, 9.4, and 11.4 ball striking. He's been terrible around the greens. He's been terrible on the greens, which isn't something that, you know, we think of when it comes to Jon Rahm.
Here we lost Noto, maybe producer. Sorry, I think that's me.
Oh, okay.
My apologies. My internet cut out for a second, so I apologize for cutting you off there.
It's hard to tell because I saw you were frozen, but I just thought maybe my internet went out too. So I didn't know. Anyway, so he's gained over 30 strokes ball striking in his last 3 events, Jon Rahm. He almost won here in 2019. He kind of fell apart down the stretch. I think it was at par 5. I want to say it's number 13, and his caddy was trying to get him to lay up out of the bunker. He tried to hit a big old draw around the tree. Didn't work. Then he just fell apart after that. So for me, I think he's the most complete player. I think he's trending in the right direction. I've never seen him gain 30 strokes ball striking in 3 events before. So I like him. No issue with Rory. Obviously played well again last week. He's won here before. Lives in Jupiter, loves Florida courses. No issue with Morikawa, who I think you tagged up. So I'll save him for you. And then nobody's ever won the Players back-to-back, so I'll probably be underweight on JT. And Hovland, I don't know what to do with Hovland. He looked so good last week, but then you look at his short game and his bunker play really let him down. So these greens can be tough to hit at times. And if the wind is really going to pick up and everyone's kind of scrambling, I think that's going to be a struggle for Hovland.
Yeah, they mentioned late in the Sunday round last week with Hovland, and his sand save percentage for the week was, I can't even remember what it was, if he was like 2 for 10 or something. It wasn't good. And obviously his short game numbers are pretty bad compared to pretty much everyone else up here. And like I said, if I'm going to go for somebody maybe with a little suspect short game, I'll just take Morikawa, who leads the tour in ball striking and, is probably, most would say, the best iron player on tour when he's on. So, some of these guys are starting to see this course for second time, third time, fourth time, some of these younger guys. And I think that's going to, create an advantage for them. And they're already some of the best players on tour. So I like Rahm as well. I think Morikawa is my favorite. And, I like Rory at single digit ownership. I think you can make a case for too. So hard to go against a lot of these guys, but I think given the weather, and the fact that you're probably going to need to make a lot of 6 to 8 foot par saves here this week, I think Hovland is the odd man out for me as well.
Yeah, and the announcers last week, man, they were just dogging on Hovland. Every time he hit in the bunker, they were saying, "Oh, he's not. There comes a bogey." At one point, one of the announcers said, "Oh, he just looks lost in there." I kind of felt bad how much grief they were giving him. Although the same announcers also said the rough was 8.5 inches thick, and I don't think that was the case.
That's pretty thick.
They said it was 4 inches when they cut it on Thursday, and then now it's 8.5. I don't think grass grows that fast.
That is 8.5, man. That is no wonder these guys are shooting 3 or 4 over par. I don't think it was probably that tall, but we'll leave that for the landscaping experts to figure out, I guess. Any other thoughts on this range? Otherwise, let's start moving down into the 9Ks. And Dustin Johnson, man, he just continues to keep that high price tag. I'm surprised he's the one guy that feels overpriced in this field, but I watch him go out and win. But he's probably still an easy pass for me at that salary. looks like your model agrees with that based on what I can see here. But your thoughts on the kind of 9,500 to 10K golfers?
Yeah, it's never good when the model prefers Jordan Spieth over Dustin Johnson. That just shows how expensive he is this week. He's never missed a cut here. He does play well on Pga courses, and he's probably going to be single-digit ownership. But yeah, I don't have much interest there. I like Cantlay, just continues to play well. 9,900 is a pretty good price point. The back-to-back miscuts here is probably why he's not, super popular this week. But again, every big name, other than a couple, are going to have some miscuts here. So I like him. Xander's interesting. He's kind of had some boomer bust course history here, but I love the guys that just have a complete game. If you have a bad day with irons, you can make up for it, around the greens or on the greens. Guys that are just, just good ball strikers. If they have one bad round ball striking, they're going to be in some serious trouble. And so I like the guys that are pretty good at everything. And, Xander's one of those guys. I'm going to be off of Spieth. I'm going to be off of Cam Smith. I do think Scheffler's interesting, though. I don't know what the motivation is going to be, but he rates out as the second best play for me in the model. And that's obviously doesn't include any biases there, but everybody hates playing the guy coming off the win, and he's got 2 in his last 3 starts. So I could see a lot of people fading him, even though he rates out as a good point per dollar play in most projection models.
Man, I would think that everybody's got to come hungry for this event, even if you've just gotten a couple wins. It's basically like a major, and I think just in terms of salary, he stands out as a guy that, given his recent play, is a little bit too cheap. So I think I got to keep Scheffler in my player pool this week. I didn't play him last week, and obviously that came back to bite me. But Schauffele is, for better or worse in terms of the odds, I think my favorite pick to win based on his odds. He's around 28 to 30 to 1 to win, which like his debut here, I think he finished runner up, and then he's missed the cut the last 2 times. So like Noto mentioned earlier, you just see that boomer bust nature with this golf course a lot. I don't have any concerns long term about Schauffele's ability to contend here. So I like him at 9,700, with you on Scheffler at 9,200. I'm out on Spieth, out on Smith, and out on DJ. Don't really have a strong take on Cantlay. So that's kind of my thoughts on the 9K range. Anything else for you in there?
I wish I would have tipped this earlier in the week. FanDuel had Xander top 10 at plus 650 when the odds first came out. That's all the way down to plus 230 now. So that was kind of a glaring mistake on their end, and I got a little piece of it, so I'm hoping to take advantage of it. But yeah, when I checked this morning to write up my bets for scores and odds, he was plus 230. So nobody was able to get on it with me, but yeah, just wanted to point that out. And then we did have a question from Bogey Monster in chat. Since we got some extra time, he said, how many players do you recommend for a 150 lineup GPP in a big tournament?
Yeah, so not like 65. You don't want to have that heavy player pool. Even if you're building 150 lineups, I mean, having like 1 or 2 golfers in like 2 or 3 lineups just generally isn't the best way to go. I am more aggressive than most, and I almost always try to narrow mine down to less than 25. But that is probably on the low end of the spectrum. So where do you fall on that?
Yeah, for me, it's more personal preference than anything. I like your strategy because when you hit on your player pool, you're going to have a lot of darts come Sunday. I like to be a little more spread out. I just kind of want to have one shot like I had last week. So I try to keep it around 40 golfers with at least 10% of each. Sometimes I'll play a 5% guy or something, but if I can get double-digit ownership on each guy and keep it around 40, I feel pretty good.
All right. I think both of those approaches certainly work. Obviously, we've both had success before. So it's just the strategy. You can fluctuate in between those kind of ranges, but just try not to do, 65 or 70 golfers. That just dilutes your chances so much, and you probably don't want to be all the way down to like 10 or 12 golfers either. But, your mileage can vary in between there, but.
Yeah, it's going to be a slow bleed if you're trying to play half the player pool every single week.
Yeah. All right. And Noto mentioned Scores and Odds. If you aren't familiar, Scores and Odds is our kind of sports betting arm here at Rotogrinders. And with sports betting coming to a lot of states now, we encourage you to check us out. We got expert picks, analysis, cutting edge tools. I'm doing a golf betting roundup every week now, article form on Scores and Odds. So you can check that out. I've actually got this week started. It'll be posted on a Wednesday morning. So we've got everything you need to become a better sports bettor at scoresandodds.com. Remote registration is back and active in Illinois, where I am, and BetMGM is now live in Illinois. So you can check that out. And we've got a promo code on the Rotogrinders front page to get some free Scores and Odds premium access if you sign up to BetMGM in Illinois through the Rotogrinders link that you can find on the rotogrinders.com homepage. So check that out. I did that myself, and I already had access to Scores and Odds. I'm going to have to try to get the powers that be to give me some other perk for signing up through the Rotogrinders link to BetMGM, because I've already got the Scores and Odds access. But anyway, that's another story. But check us out, scoresandodds.com. Noto and I both do a lot of content for that as well. And hopefully give you some winning picks. I know Noto hit an outright a couple weeks ago, and I had the Gary Woodland top 10 bets on there the last 2 weeks. So we've made the people some money lately.
Yeah, love it. And not just golf either. You got every sport out there, and not just, totals and lines. Some of the better prop guys in the industry just posting tons and tons of picks every single day.
Do you have a take on Hideki? I don't think we really talked about him that much.
I mean, I don't know. He feels a tad overpriced to me. No issue with him. He's got some good course history. Obviously, he was leading the year that, COVID hit and it got canceled. And a lot of people wanted to give him the win. I think he was 900 par after the first round, which is pretty crazy. So I have no issue with him. If I go there, I'll probably have less than the 17% ownership that we have, Matt.
All right, so let's go ahead and move down into the next range there. I'm on record as saying I think Zalatoris is going to win a major this year. Yes, the putter with him is suspect as well. Yes, it cost him a win about a month ago, but the rest of his game is completely legit. I'll take a shot on his short game coming around, maybe in one of the majors, and him being able to put it all together. Whether this counts or not, I'm going to count it if he does happen to win, because that helps me prove my point. But Berger seems like the chalk of the week, relatively speaking, at 8,800 in Florida. Put those injury concerns to rest a couple weeks ago. So you still got, plenty of upside here with this range of golfers that we usually see in the 9K plus range. Oosthuizen, Koepka, Finau, Neiman, Sung J M, Adam Scott. All these guys are generally a little more expensive. So who are a couple of your favorites in there?
Yeah, very strong range. I like it a lot more than the 9Ks. Berger at the top, it's hard not to like him, even though he's going to be popular. He does feel, $1,000 too cheap. Couple top 10s here. If you look at his numbers, he's actually first in this field in strokes gained approach over the last 8 months, over the last 14 months, if you want to go back to the start of 2021. So, better than Morikawa, better than Henley, better than Justin Thomas. So if you want a good iron player, I certainly don't mind looking there. He's also top 10 in good drive percentage, and we know he likes Florida. So yeah, I like Berger quite a bit, even at the high ownership. Love the Zalatoris call. If you look at his numbers last week, he gained 6.4 strokes ball striking and just lost them all on and around the greens. So I'll play him anytime we have these difficult courses. I like Louis Oosthuizen a little bit. He is from California, or sorry, from Florida. My little man just walked up. And he's got a second place finish here. He still doesn't have a win in America. I don't think it's going to come this week, but I do like his chances to kind of be there in the mix. The worse the weather gets, I think that kind of helps some of these European players. And then I'm going to be off of Brooks. Is his ownership really going to be, 18 to 20%?
I do not think so.
Yeah, I don't either. I don't know. I get it. He likes these big events, but he hasn't played particularly great here. He's got a couple good finishes. So I'm off of Brooks, off of Finau. And then in the bottom of the 8Ks, I like Adam Scott quite a bit. He's made 13 straight cuts here. He's playing well. He's gained 14 strokes putting in his last 2 starts. So if he can keep that going with the ball striking, I like his chances to kind of be in the mix on Sunday.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I like this range. I think Zalatoris and Berger are deservedly the guys at the top of it in terms of salary. I think they deserve to be there. I'm out on Brooks if that ownership is remotely close to right, but I do think that it will dip a bit. I'm in on Oosthuizen a little bit at that ownership. I think you can make a case for Oosthuizen or even Finau as kind of your lower owned pivot play for GPPs in this range. I will probably have a lot of these players in my pool. I will probably be out on Horschel to my own detriment again. I don't know. He just did you right last week though, so I'm interested if you're going to be as dialed in and dig the heels in on Horschel for the next couple months. Now that he's helped you win some money.
I mean, we kind of saw it coming with the ball striking. He had relied on his short game for so long, and then out of nowhere gained a bunch of strokes ball striking 2 events in a row. It was pretty good last week too. Florida guy. He's not going to make my main lineup that I put into everything, but he'll definitely be in the MME player pool.
I think another angle we can look at this week is guys who tend to play well in bad weather. Again, we're not used to targeting that in Florida, but the wind and the rain and the cold, cooler weather coming in, Lowry is not a guy that I often go out of my way to target, but I did mark him up as a tournament play this week for many of those reasons. Obviously he should be a little bit motivated after kind of an untimely rainstorm, in his words, cost him a win a couple of weeks back, but I think this is a nice spot for Lowry at pretty low ownership there at 8,000 exactly. So we'll bookend this range with some of him, at least in my player pool. Other thoughts? Anything else on the 8Ks that we missed for you?
I love the Lowry call. And then what about Sungjae? We didn't really talk about him much.
Yeah, I don't really have a strong take on him either. I don't know. He's been all over the place lately. 20th last week. He faded a little bit on Sunday, but he didn't really play that much worse than field average. So for me, I just like so many of the others in this range better that he'll probably end up being one of my final few cut from my player pool, though I haven't decided that for sure yet. So don't come after me later if he ends up being in there. But I don't know. I don't really have that much against him. I just think the other guys are just a little better.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the same boat. And I think heading into this tournament last year, he was like 20-1 or something. He was one of the favorites. I want to say he was like high 9Ks. So he would like him in Florida. But I'm with you. I don't know if I'm going to end up having a bunch of them.
All right. So let's go ahead and move down into the 7K range. Fitzpatrick is going to stand out to a lot of people as seeming underpriced given the way he's been playing, and came back after an illness and picked right back up where he left off last week. So again, upside plays in this range that Hatt and Fitzpatrick both played well last week. You've got guys with some history of upside like Leishman and Webb Simpson and Sam Burns in this range as well. So your takes on the upper end of the 7K range?
Yeah, I'll go back to Fitzpatrick for sure. It doesn't feel great knowing that my 3 core plays are like 3 of the highest owned guys of the week. I always hate when I just pick chalk, but I at least had some contrarian conviction plays up as well. But yeah, I mean, Fitz, he's been in great form. Teach well for better in 5 straight. Top 10 here last year. Played great last week. He's just such a good putter, so good around the greens that I think in these conditions, it's really going to benefit him. Same goes for Hatton. And then I like Sam Burns. I'm hoping, we get low ownership because he was almost dead last year, and then he's missed 3 of his last 4 cuts. So I think, he has winning upside. He's got the complete package. We haven't seen a lot of it this year, but he did play well last week at the API. Just a guy with a ton of upside. So I'll definitely take a risk on him at 7,900. And then Abraham Answer is another guy that I like. A couple top 25s here, and the best player in the field on Pga courses. So I think that's an interesting angle to take if you want to do that.
Who's that?
Abraham answer.
All right. Yeah, that's interesting. He's not. We got him at 12.9%. He's probably gonna, be right in that range. And the ownership, I mean, there's not gonna really be any super chalk. I don't think probably the rest of the way once we get below Fitzpatrick. Quick glance, I don't think we have anybody above 13 in terms of percentage owned. So you don't have to worry about ownership too much once you get into this range. So um, agree on Fitzpatrick. I'm not sure where I'm going to come out on him just because of an ownership angle. Um, he is kind of at the point where it worries me to fade him at that price a little bit, but you got some pivots in there. I never dislike playing Webb, so I play some of him. I like Hatton quite a bit at 7,800, so you got some pivots in there. You like any of the Aussies? Back to Jason Day coming off his withdrawal. Thankfully for you, that happened before the tournament last week.
Yeah, it wasn't injury related. His mom ended up passing away, so maybe if we play the motivation angle, I mean, he's been in good form. He's got some great course history here. I bumped him up 10% in the model, still rates out as a poor play, but that's always going to happen. Jason Day. But yeah, I'll be on some shares of him. Webb's interesting. I mean, do we know what's going on with him? He's played one time this year. He was set to tee it up a few weeks ago, ended up withdrawing. I don't think we ever heard why. How come he's not playing any golf?
I don't know. It's a really interesting question, and I hadn't seen that about Jason Day. That being the reason that he was out last week. So, condolences to him on that. But I don't know. I haven't seen anything either.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I don't think 11% is going to end up being the case for Webb just because we haven't seen any of them. But obviously, he's 1 year before, great on the shorter Bermuda tracks. So, yeah, I think he's interesting. I just don't know why he hasn't played a lot.
Yeah, no, it hasn't been like this flow of news like we've known somebody like Charlie Hoffman who's withdrawn mid-tournament a few times. I don't know, but I'll probably end up playing some of them. Usually do. I see you're going back to the well on Casey, huh?
I mean, so prices came out before the weekend, and everybody was saying how cheap Casey was, 7,400 at the Players, and everybody thought he was going to be 30% owned, and then he just absolutely tanked, and that's probably the best thing that could have happened for his ownership. So, I mean, if you liked him last week in the high eights, you should probably like him this week. He good course history, fifth here last year, kind of checks all the boxes that you're looking for. He's pretty underrated around the greens too. So yeah, I'll go back to Casey.
All right. I'll go back to Woodland. I'm going to keep going back to Woodland until that breaks. I'm a little bit worried about the finish last week and whether that will, demoralize him just a little bit. But I don't know. I got on him 2 weeks ago out of absolutely nowhere, and the dude's posted back-to-back top five. So we cannot break that karma until he gives us a reason to. So we're back to Woodland at 7,400. That's a given. Connors had a pretty strong week last week. I think he's going to rate out well for a lot of people. Wouldn't be surprised if he's one of the most popular plays in the lower part of the 7K range, given his ball striking ability. And again, with him, it'll come down to that short game. Gooch is another guy who played well last week, but faded on Sunday, particularly on his front nine. Cameron Young continues to be a guy that's getting a lot of ownership. And I asked last week whether he's the real deal, and he posted another 13th place finish. So if you've been on him throughout this run, you're kind of like I am with Woodland, and you're just going to keep rolling with it. So your takes on this range?
I do like Corey Connors quite a bit. I do worry that if he ends up making the weekend and it's super windy, then he's going to have to scramble a lot. So maybe he goes backwards, but pretty good course history. You mentioned the ball striking numbers are back last week. I like so Tringali. I think it's 10 straight starts now. He's gone back and forth between a missed cut and a top 15 finish, and he missed the cut last week. We seem to joke about it every week, but he's got to finish top 15, right?
That's right.
So at 2%, yeah, I'll take a top 15 at 2%. Siwoo's a little bit interesting. He's been a little bit more consistent over the last year of play or so. Obviously got the P angle. He's 1 year before, and that the year he won was really bad weather. So maybe you can tap into that a little bit. I think Gooch is a good fit for the course. You mentioned Cam Young. I'll probably have a little bit, but it does feel like he's due for a bad week eventually. And if it's going to be 15% ownership, yeah, I'll probably be underweight on that. Other guys in this range, none that really stand out. Who else do you like?
Yeah, it starts to get a little bare towards the bottom end of the 7K range. I think Mitchell is remotely interesting after being the chalk last week that just kind of really detonated on the weekend. Where did he end up finishing? Let's see. He finished 61st. Lost 4.2 strokes putting on Saturday. So, sometimes that happens with him. But he was really popular last week, and now he's been 8-9K the last couple weeks. So 3% Keith Mitchell and GPPs. I think this is a spot I can maybe get back on board with my old friend.
Yeah, I don't mind that call. And 2 plays in the upper or the mid sevens. So Sergio Garcia, he's made at least 12 straight cuts here, and he's won here. I think it was 2008 when he won. So he's interesting. Doesn't look like he's going to be too popular. And then Russell Henley's should be the perfect fit for this course when you talk about fairways and irons and Bermuda putting, but he does not play well here. Do you have a take on him?
I think I'm willing to put that course history aside a little bit. You can attribute some of that to the variance of the course. He'll probably end up in my player pool if I had to guess. I'm not rushing out to get him, but I think he's fine. He's not like he's been in that bad of form either.
Yeah, rates out as the second best point per dollar play in my model, which is crazy. But yeah, I'll probably have him in there, and I'm sure he'll do what he always does here.
Well, that's the spirit. I don't mind that call. Anything else above 7,000?
Alex Noren is interesting at 7,000. Couple top 20s here. 2 top 6s in his last 3 starts. He's another one of those European guys. It's a grinder. He's got a really good short game, and if the conditions get bad and everyone's having to scramble, you got to kind of give the edge to those guys that are good at it.
So I have a question in the chat. SF Bay Chiefs asking about Leishman and Homa. You got to take, they're both 7,500.
Leishman kind of fell apart last week, and then he's been real bad here. So if I'm taking one guy in the 7Ks, it's been bad here, I'll probably prefer Henley. Homa, I don't mind Homa one bit. He's just been playing some great golf, and I think it's a decent course fit for him.
Yeah, I'm probably out on Leishman this week as well. I picked him to win last week, and it did not end up well for Leishman. And don't really have much confidence in him coming to this course after struggling at a course that was a really good fit for him last week. So would take Homa between the two myself. All right, let's move into the 6Ks, where you're probably not going to see a lot of ownership because you're going to see people kind of dive to that kind of mid 7K price range to round out their lineups, whether it's a stars and scrubs or a balanced lineup. The one guy that I had written up at 6,600 is Lucas Herbert, a guy that I've kind of always had a little bit of a soft spot for. And last week, Herbert's 4 under round on Sunday. There were only 4 guys under par. Burns at 1 under, Matsuyama at 2 under, Hatton at 3 under, and Herbert at 4 under. And granted, he went out, earlier than the leaders, but that round was 7.5 strokes better than field average. And yes, a lot of his performance for the week was putting, and his off the tee and approach numbers weren't spectacular, but he's playing with house money. He got in with a top 10, an epic backdoor top 10, and he's an Aussie. He always tends to play better in bad weather. He won during the fall swing in Bermuda, where it tends to be a little bit windy. And now we've got rain and we've got wind and we've got cooler temperatures coming in. And we've got a guy that had, the round of his life compared to the field. And I think those are the players that are dangerous as punt level plays. Yeah, the overall stats aren't spectacular. He's not going to grade out well in a statistical model sense, and you're not playing him in a single entry. But if you're looking for a tournament guy with some upside that's probably coming in with some confidence, Herbert at 6,600, 1.3% ownership. He's my flag planting GPP guy if you're looking for somebody in the 6K range. So that's my thoughts. Mito, I never mind targeting a little bit of him at 6,700, but any punt values you like?
Great sell on Herbert. Wasn't on my radar prior to that, so I'll definitely add him into the player pool now. The other guys I like, I think Jonathan Vegas is interesting. He was in contention the year Rory won, and really good ball striker. He's been making a lot of cuts recently. And then KH Lee's quietly made 10 cuts in a row, T41 here last year. Adam Hadwin's a guy that can get hot with the irons, get hot with the putter, and he's much better on these shorter courses. So those are going to be my favorites. But what about Chris Kirk at 7,000? I mean, he's been back-to-back top tens in Florida.
Yeah, his round on Sunday was pretty wild. With the way that he ended up finishing inside the top five. He missed a bunch of short putts and then made a bunch of long putts. It was really strange. But I mean, he feels a little underpriced at 7K, and he is going to have a little bit of ownership. But if you're just looking for the kind of the guy who rates out as the best point per dollar play in there, it's hard to argue against him.
Yeah, and then I got SF Bay Chiefs. He wanted to know about Brian Harmon, my guy. Do you like him at all?
I am not on Harmon this week.
All right, I like him a little bit. The ball striking's finally turned around, and he's been pretty good here in the past.
Yeah, I mean, certainly guys that can pop in this range. I saw some buzz on Twitter today about Patrick Reed at 7,300 or at 150 to 1 odds or whatever. Maybe after I've been anti-Reed for so long that this has finally paid off. But I don't think I can just magically try going to Reed and have it work out like it did with Woodland the last couple of weeks. So I don't think I'm going to try the pixie dust there with Reed at 7,300. We discussed quite a few other options.
$1,000 cheaper, Thomas Peters. He was everyone's favorite of the Genesis. Played pretty well last week. 6,300.
Yeah, I don't mind that in GPPs as well. If you're looking to get a safe play down here or a cash game play, you're probably not going to find one. You probably have a lineup that you really like those 5 guys, and I just need that one guy at 6,500 or something. It gets pretty thin. So GPPs, I like the upside for some of these guys, or you could look to like a Pendrith or something like that, but tough to find a safe play down here. Like, who's the cheapest guy you would play in a single entry cash game type of build?
Probably Keegan Bradley, 69.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of I don't even know. I might not go below Kirk at 7K in a cash game, but tournaments, fired up. The Mitos and Herbert and Peters and some of those guys, intriguing upside for sure. All right, we've got people asking Dylan Fratelli. There's a name I haven't heard in a while.
I saw him getting some buzz last week. I don't think he played that well, but let me look. Let's see. So he was T22 here last year, T42 last week, playing a little bit better. I don't hate it.
He is 6,600 on DraftKings. So GPP 0.5%. You never know. Those are the types of plays that can sometimes take down the big GPPs. Wise is a guy that always gets a little bit of traction. We got somebody asking about him as well. We've had a Westwood question. After that weekend from Westwood last week, I think I've had but Westwood was like second here last year too. He had a really good stretch last year that people seem to have forgotten about, but seems like a lot of these recent tournaments he had top 5s or 10s last year. I'm off of Westwood, but that's mainly bias from having him in my best lineup last week. So anybody else on your radar?
Yeah, off of Westwood, off of Wise. I never get Wise right, so I just can't do it when a lot of people are going to be missing greens this week.
You got anybody else that we haven't mentioned? Otherwise, we'll call it a show.
I mean, I don't think so. Poulter is always a guy that you can probably count on to make the cut, especially if the weather gets bad.
and the weather probably will get bad. So stay tuned to the news for that. I'm sure Kevin Roth will have his forecast up on Wednesday. And we'll have to dodge some delays, I think, in this tournament, but still should be a fun one. Lots of big prize pools out there, lots of money to be won. And we hope if it's not us, then maybe it's one of you winning the money along the way. So with that, we're going to get out of here for this week. Good luck, everybody. For Noto and our producer, Devin, I am Justin. Good luck this week, and we will see you back here next week. Same time, same place. We'll take care, everybody.